If you've played Pandemic, you already get it, how wonderful board games can be. It's a 1-hour box-sized, amazing, repeatable, immersive escape room for free. So this song goes out to all the rest of you.
Sorry, how to play. The object of the game is to get all your pawns from the start space to the home space by traveling around the board clockwise as indicated by the arrows. Setup. Lay out the board. Each player picks a color and places their 4 pawns in the corresponding start space. Shuffle the deck of cards and place face down for a draw deck. On your turn, you draw a card and, if possible, apply its effects, then discard it. Each card says what it does, and I'll go over each of them later. If the card cannot be fulfilled, discard it and end your turn. Play proceeds with the next player to your left. You are only allowed to move a pawn out of the start space with a 1, 2, or sorry card. Pawns in your start space cannot move from any other card until they leave the start space. On a 1 or 2, move your pawn directly below your start space onto the entry circle. If another player's pawn is on your entry circle, bump it back to start. You may not move a pawn to the entry circle if one of your own pawns is already there. You are allowed to jump over pawns on the board that are in your way, counting it as 1 space, but you may not share a space with another pawn. Instead, when landing on the same space as an opponent's pawn, bump their pawn back to their start space. If the space is already occupied by your pawn, you may not move there. If you can move, you must. If you can't, you forfeit your turn and the next player goes. In order to land your pawns in the home space, they must move in with the exact number. Anytime you land by exact count on a slide triangle that is not your own color, your pawn slides down to the circle at its end, bumping off all pawns back to start that are in the way. If you land on the triangle of a slide of your own color, you don't do anything. When you travel around the board and return to your starting area, instead of proceeding straight, your pawn goes into your safety zone. Only you are allowed to enter your color's safety zone. Pawns inside a safety zone may not be targeted by sorry cards. No pawn may enter its safety zone by a backwards move. However, you may move backwards past your safety zone, then on a subsequent turn, move forward into it. The cards are as follows. 1. Either start a pawn out, or move 1 pawn forward 1 space. 2. Either start a pawn out, or move 1 pawn forward 2 spaces. Whichever you do, even if you couldn't move, draw again and move accordingly. 3. Move 1 pawn forward 3 spaces. 4. Move 1 pawn backwards 4 spaces. 5. Move 1 pawn forward 5 spaces. 7. Either move 1 pawn forward 7 spaces, or split the forward move between any 2 pawns. You cannot use a 7 to start a pawn, and if you use a 7 to get a pawn home, you must be able to use the remainder of the move for another pawn. 8. Move 1 pawn forward 8 spaces. 10. Either move 1 pawn forward 10 spaces or move 1 pawn back 1 space. 11. Move 1 pawn forward 11 spaces or switch any one of your pawns with any one of your opponents, so long as neither pawn is in the start, safe, or home spaces. You may forfeit your move if you don't want to change places and can't move 11 spaces forward. If the switch causes you to land on a triangle of another player's slide, slide to the end. 12. Move 1 pawn forward 12 spaces. Sorry. Take 1 pawn from your start, place it on any square that is occupied by an opponent, and bump that opponent's pawn back to their start space. If there is no pawn on your start or no opponent's pawn on any space, you forfeit your turn. The first player to get all their pawns to their home space wins. Check out the rule variation for adults.
Teenagers these days are always on their phones. Yes, I'm talking to you. Let's get rid of those phones and get ready to play Uno. going to need 2 to 10 players, a table, and an Uno card deck. The deck consists of 108 cards, numbered 1 through 9, and colored red, green, blue, or yellow, as well as action cards. But we'll get into that later. It's time to deal! Step 1. The dealer shuffles and deals each player 7 cards. The remaining cards are placed face down in the center of the table. This is known as the draw pile. Step 2. Turn over the
Monopoly. How to play. The object of the game is to be the last player standing. Lay out the board, and each player picks a token and places it on go. Give each player $1,500 divided as follows. 2 500s each. 6 20s, and 5 10s, 5s, and 1s. All the remaining money stays with the game and is called the bank. One person is the banker and manages the money of the bank, which must stay separate. Place the property cards, houses, and hotels with the bank. Shuffle the chance and community chest cards and place them face down on their spots on the board. Each player rolls the dice, and the player with the highest total goes first, then play proceeds clockwise. On your turn, roll both dice and move your token exactly that many spaces clockwise around the board. If you land on an unowned property, you may buy it from the bank for the listed price. You receive the property card and place it face up in front of you. If you do not wish to buy it, then the bank sells it at auction to the highest bidder. If you land on a property that another player owns, pay them rent according to the price on their property card. If they own all the properties of the same color, then you must pay them double rent on unimproved properties. An unimproved property is a space or a hotel on it. If the player does have houses or a hotel, you must pay them the corresponding price. The property owner may not collect rent if he fails to ask for it before the next player rolls the dice. If you do not have enough money to pay another player or the bank, you must sell off your hotels, houses, and mortgage properties until you can flip it face down and collect the mortgage price from the bank. If a player lands on a mortgaged property, they do not pay any rent and they are not allowed to buy the mortgaged property. You must pay the bank the mortgage price plus 10%. Unimproved properties in a monopoly still receive the double rent bonus even if some of the properties are mortgaged. If you sell and mortgage everything and still don't have enough money to pay, you are bankrupt and you are out of the game. You give all that you have to the creditor. Mortgaged properties remain mortgaged. As you travel around the board, several things can happen. If you land on a chance or community chest, you draw one card from its respective draw pile and follow the instructions on the card. If you land on the tax space, you pay the bank the proper amount. If you land on free parking, nothing happens. When you land on or pass go, you collect $200 from the bank. If you land on go to jail, you go immediately to jail, and you do not pass go, and you do not. If you land on the jail space, you aren't in jail, but just visiting. If you roll doubles, you get to roll and move again.